Hello and welcome back to Beaver Hunter Scale Models and a new part of my Panther Tank series. This time it's all about painting and weathering stowage like tarps and jerry cans. So please enjoy and let's get started. So this is the model stadium after the last video, which was all about pin washes and rust effects. To get started with painting the tarps, I base painted them in a dark brown acrylic paint to get a nice dark foundation. I then choose the base paint for every tarp, in this case field grey, and after diluting it with water, I painted the whole piece with it. I diluted it so it isn't covering the dark foundation completely, and I did not paint the deepest and darkest places or crevices so they stayed darker than the rest. I then lightened the base paint with Iraqi sun and painted the parts of the tarp that were raised and so exposed to more light. Again, the paint was diluted with water. I made 4 to 5 lighter versions of the paint, and here you can see I switched to a smaller brush because the lighter the paint became, the smaller became the areas I painted with them. Because these were my first sculpted tarps from green stuff, they were lacking a bit of details like folds and crevices. Because of that, I had to try to create these folds by painting them, and although not perfect, I like the result for a first timer. And here I'm trying to use the brush strokes as a kind of fabric texture. And after I was happy with the painted tarps and created contrast, I made several thin glazes with the base paint to unify the surface and achieve smoother transitions. For the tarp in the commander's cupola, I wanted a light tone and I went with light green blue, which I lightened up with deck tan. But this turned out to be way too light and it almost looked completely white without any contrast. So I used dark brown paint, diluted it very strong and tried to repaint the shadowed areas and crevices. And to even increase the effect, I made a wash with this mix to let the paint run in the deeper spots. When this was dry, I grabbed me a medium lightened version of the base paint and repainted the raised areas to recreate some highlights. And after that I was happy with it. The two tarps on the hull were painted in the same way like the first one, and with that I was good to move on to the metal stowage. The oil can was base painted with AK's natural steel, and after it was dry I made some black washes with diluted acrylic paint on top of that to turn down the shine and make it look a bit more greasy and less brand new. And after the washes were dry, I repainted the raised spots like the lid or the handle with natural steel to give some contrast back to the can. I then had to paint the ammunition box and oil jerry can, which were glued on top of the just painted tarps. And to avoid messing up these, I used masking putty so I don't end up with repainting the tarps. Then I could base paint the two metal pieces and after that remove the masking putty. To add some wear and tear, I made some brush chipping here with dark grey paint. Usually I would prefer doing these with sponge chipping, but because there was not much space around these parts, I had to do them by brush, which is more difficult to me to let it look random and naturally created. Some additional jerry cans could be painted separately, and I started with the white cross over the black primer by painting some generous areas in white. I then used masking tape to protect the white paint and made sure it had a good grip. And after that I could paint the jerrycan in German grey and ended up with the white cross after removing the masking tape. A different approach was tried on another jerrycan by base painting a dark yellow on it in several thin layers. And with dry brushing I applied a dark grey tone to add some wear and tear to the base paint. Looking good to me. Then I could finally use my beloved sponge to apply some chipping with a dark grey and a rusty brown tone. And to improve the look and make it more interesting, I applied a dark rust tone and a light rust wash over the chipped places. After the enamel products had some time to dry, I used a soft brush and some odorless thinner to blend the rust tones into the surface. As always, I had to be careful to not get carried away and overdo it, as I like the effect so much. Of course, the pieces on the tank were treated the same way, except the ammunition box, which only received the dark rust tones. And I applied a dark pin wash to make the details stand out more and set some shadows in the crevices. I like to do pin washes after chipping and rust tones, so these don't stand out too much and get some shadow effect too. And again, after the enamels had some time to dry, I blended them and removed the excess. Next step was to create a mix of wet effects and a small amount of dark wash to imply some fuel stains on the jerrycans. And as the tarps were used while maintenance on the tank, some of them received some grease and grime too. A graphite pen was used to highlight the edges of the jerrycans. This not only highlights the edges, it also gives the illusion of a real metal piece and adds additional details to these small parts. And somehow makes the parts feel heavier because they look so metal-like. And because I was in a metal mood, I grabbed me some metal pigments and polished the contact areas of the wheels, which were base painted with acrylic metallic paint. And I had to do this before I could start with the earth and mud coming soon. Also a good opportunity to polish the bare metal parts of the jack. The towing ropes were base painted and rusted like all other bare metal parts, and then I used the metal pigments to gently highlight the raised spots. This combination of rust and shine always gets me. Then I could finally play around a bit with potential positions on the tank. I won't attach them permanently now, as I don't know where the figures will be later. And with that, we made it for today. Thank you very much for watching this video and following my Pentatank series. I hope it wasn't too annoying and you maybe even could get a hint or two for painting and weathering Stowage and Tarps. This tank is slowly turning to home stretch and I'm now looking forward to slapping earth and mud onto this thing. I would be happy if I caught your interest and you maybe want to follow the development of this build. But that's it for now, so thanks again, stay safe and hopefully see you again.